Okay,
Hold in
so
your hand.
what we were talking about before is called the labor theory of value. It's the idea that
This is what you're
value.
saying? This is what
Yeah,
you're
that's what it's like. The labor theory of value
Romantic.
says that the reason commodities are worth money is because they have labor in them. So if you
Right.
think of things that don't require any labor to do, they're not worth anything. Like air, it's around us. It doesn't take any human labor to get that. Other things might require things beyond human labor. Like, say, if we wanted to grow apples, we would need land and things like that.
Right.
But then you need human labor to plant it and to gather those things, and that's what adds the value.
Right.
So this has some interesting implications when you get into how things are produced in the capitalist mode of production. So most people aren't one person making a thing, bringing it to market, and selling it. Most people are working for someone. Okay,
Right.
so they actually, to put it poetically, they take their own hide to market in order to sell it.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, and there are some implications with commodification of the human body there, but
there are.
so what you do is you sell yourself you rent yourself. I mean, really, because you're not.
Mate,
if you're sold, then you'd
This
be a
is
slave.
clean. This is clean.
But
we don't rent ourselves.
If
We
you,
wait till marriage.
no, you do rent yourself.
No, we wait till marriage. No, okay. I get what you're saying.
Because you're saying, okay, this time of mine is yours, and you can tell me what to do during it, and then whatever I do during that time, whatever I make with that time, is yours. It belongs to the boss. So,
Bruce Springsteen. Right.
yeah, it belongs to Bruce Springsteen. If he's the capitalist. That's the name of the
He's
capitalist.
the boss. That's what they call him. Oh god. Maybe that was too obscure of a reference.
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
know that one.
Oh, okay. That's what they call him. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Sorry. God, it makes me sound so old. My parents love Bruce Springsteen. Everybody calls him the boss.
The
Man,
boss?
Yeah.
That doesn't even sound like a flattering name.
It
Not on
wouldn't
this
to a
podcast.
Marxist. It really wouldn't, would it? Yeah, it makes sense. All right.
Okay, so this is the way that capitalist mode of production is organized. A capitalist has a bunch of money. He goes and he buys people, and he buys raw materials and machines in a place, things like that. So it's capital and workers, and he puts them together. They make commodities. He sells those commodities, and he only does this if he can sell the commodities for more than it costs to hire the work and the materials.
Okay.
Okay? So somehow more value is made when you put the work and the materials together. Well, where did that value come from? The only answer if you follow what we've done before is it came from the labor. Well, if the labor made the work, according to Marx, here comes the big revolutionary conclusion, then the labor should get the money from that value.
Right.
So that's basic Marxist exploitation. And if you look at this, it's not the way that exploitation is used by most people in common conversation today. Exploitation usually means someone's getting ripped off. They're not getting paid as much as the norm. Or they're getting, like, exploitation is something like child labor or sweatshop labor. In Marxist analysis, workers make all the value. So any money that doesn't go to the worker means that worker is being exploited. So every job in a capitalist society, or just about every job in a capitalist society, is a job where you're being exploited. Because if you weren't being exploited, the company wouldn't make any money and they'd go under. Like, it needs exploitation to run.
Okay.
And that's the big
That is
sexy
what we want.
conclusion.
Yeah.
So
Where everyone gasps and they riot and burn down the theater.
yeah, exactly. No, and it's funny because if the way that if you read like a lot of Marxist writing, it's always that workers for the most part, like if the vulgar worker, if you will, like the common uneducated whatever, they get it at some point. Like they feel like they're getting ripped off. Like they don't have this theoretical analysis always to get to that point, but they kind of feel like they're getting ripped off, and they get that there are people that are richer than them, and it doesn't seem fair. but it's all kind of just instinctual or intuitive on a certain level. But there is this certain tension. That's one of the tensions in the system, is this tension. There's a lot of them, and if the old dinosaur Marxist way to call them is contradictions.
Right.
So you'll hear a lot about the contradictions in capitalism. But contradictions usually just mean a tension. It's a conflicting interest or things like this. And this is one of the major contradictions in capitalism, is that workers can sense this exploitation at some level and will resist it at some level.
I would say, to my knowledge of Marxism, the major crux with which everything else revolves in Marxism is this idea of exploitation of the worker. At least from it is
important. Central. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. And yeah, so it makes sense. It makes sense to cover it in its own special in its own podcast.
Maybe this would be a good point to end since we came to the big conclusion. So thanks for tuning in. This has been Commodities and Exploitation 101. I'll see you next time.